What's up, guys? Landon Rich, Call Center crew, bringing you this week's weekly wisdom. It is Friday, the 15th of December. This is kind of the second principle that Marcy Clausen shared on one of our episodes, which I'll link up above to this video on YouTube. But she talked about operating an omni-channel call center. And a couple of the principles. Last week we shared one on the last weekly wisdom that was managing your spreads. Right? We dove into a little bit of that. Today I want to talk about macro and micro pacing, or pacing in general. Right? A lot of times when people hear this, they don't know when they hear pacing, what does that mean, right? And then to break that down, macro and micro. So pacing, from any standpoint, I'm going to be speaking to it from probably the most commonly used, which is from a supervisor role, specifically a coach that handles agents directly, is you have to pace your calling floor. You have to pace your team. How I always had it is you have to make sure that you have your agents sitting in the same row, or the same two rows, or the same bay. You can't have your agents spread out, right? I know agents want to sit by each other. I know that, for whatever reason you might be broken up, or, if one of the stations is broken and it's making one of your agents sit with another team or over on another bay or something like that, get IT, get it fixed, get it so you can have your entire team in one bay, one location. Because guess what? When my suggestion to pace is a coach needs to have an elevated, or a supervisor needs to have an elevated desk with no chair, right? Well, they can have a chair, but they shouldn't be sitting in it for longer than a couple minutes, right? They need to be out in the bay, literally pacing, monitoring the agents, answering questions, figuring out what's going on, and then more than anything, they need to know exactly where they're at towards their goals, and that's where the macro and micro pacing comes in. So macro, obviously, meaning the big picture. So for the day, where they're pacing towards the goal for the day. Where is that day? If it's Monday, if it's Friday, where is that day putting them towards the weekly goal? Same thing, taking it one level up. If it's weekly, right? If it is the first week of the month, is it the last week of the month? Where is that week putting you for the month? And then same thing, as you can see, to roll up, right? Month to quarter, quarter to year, and just creating a positive trend, right? So that's the macro. So as a supervisor, you needed to know, either in your head, on your stat sheet, on your wall board, whatever it is, you need to know where that day is pacing towards your weekly goal, where that week is pacing towards your monthly goal, where that month is pacing towards your overall quarter or annual goal. Right? You have to know that. Now taking it down to the micro level. So micro pacing. I broke my intervals into an hour increment. So I basically ate for my shift, for my team, 8 1-hour increments throughout the day. And that's how I managed my team, a very micro, finite management. And now that doesn't mean I'm micromanaging them every single move they make. Let me explain. When I mean micromanaging, is that hour drove to the next hour, and that hour drove to the next hour, and that hour drove to the overall day, right? The goals. So for this hour, opening hour, maybe I launched with a power hour. I threw out a couple of games on the whiteboard, or the gamification that we had with Clearview on the performance management side. But that hour, every agent knew. So, and I broke it down micro, right? So for sales, just to make it easy, if they needed X amount of revenue per call for the day, right, or X amount of revenue total for the day, I broke that down into 8 1-hour increments. So just to make math easy here, right? So $80, let's say, or $80 RPC, revenue per call. So that means that every hour on the hour, they need to be at least 80, averaging 80, right? If they're lower, then the next hour they need to bring it up. If they're higher, then they're on goal. They're pretty good, right? So every hour they knew that they needed to sell X amount of deals, right? If they had a total of 20 deals for the day, I broke that down into, hey, you needed X amount per hour, and that's what I held them to. I was on my feet, pacing day in, day out, hour in, hour out. I'm not gonna be the one to say, coaches never sit down, take away their chairs, elevated. But for me, how I managed and how I drove successful teams was I took it very, very seriously. I honestly when I was a coach managing a team, I did not sit down. Like I had my elevated desk. I very rarely went to my desk other than to maybe check stats, maybe listen to a phone call or two, right, to do some monitoring. During the day, the interval, I was literally pacing day in, day out, hour in, hour out, letting the team know. I sounded like a broken record, right? Any of the agents can attest to this, and it may drive some people nuts, but I guarantee you my agents, every 5 minutes, knew exactly where they were at pacing for that hour, where that hour was leading to the day, and where they were at on goal for that day for the week, right? So again, kind of looking at it, the micro and the macro, it has to be done, right? Especially from a coach and a supervisor standpoint. Now, obviously, that same principle, micro and macro, can roll up to kind of the director level and also roll down to the agent level. The agent can definitely pace, within their hour, within their interval, but it has to be done. If you just look at a day as a whole, it's going to run away from you, and before you know it, the shift's going to be over. You're going to be off goal, and you're going to be wondering, well, why am I not on goal? Right? So micro, macro pacing tied directly into managing your spreads that we shared last week. You can check out all of the weekly wisdom at callcentercrew.com, as well as linking back to these principles that Marcy Clausen shared on one of our previous episodes. Thanks for listening, guys. Again, callcentercrew.com. Stay tuned. Thanks.